Thank you, Mr. Swami. And greetings once again to all the panelists, as well as to the audience. I am always amazed to see such a large audience for such a subject which is so little talked about and so little debated when it is so central to democracy in India. To talk directly to Mr. Swami's questions, I must say that I have questions of my own which I am going to put to the audience. First of all, a little bit of introduction to myself. My name is Maja Daruwala, and I'm the director of the Commonwealth Human Rights Initiative. And Commonwealth Human Rights Initiative have been working on advocating for police reform, better policing, more accountable policing, policing which is well provisioned, all of these things for a long time. And I have to tell Justice Lahoti that I am even older than the Prakash Singh judgment. I am even older than, in our working, than the Padmanabhaya committee, than the Soli Sorabji committee, than the Kamal Kumar committee, and even the Verma committee. And I think the only thing I'm not older than is the Fraser Committee, which was in 1903. So I feel that I am capable of speaking on this subject. But I'm not going to rehearse what is wrong with the police. We all know what is wrong with the police. Impunity, lack of accountability, broken structures, too much interference, not only from politicians, but from all sorts of people, including local mafia, etc. The police are working, rather than working on the rule of law or by the rule of law, they are working on somebody's ishara. A wink, a nod, you get into jail or you get out on bail. This is not a good thing. We know that. We also know what the solutions are, because you heard me talking about all of the committees. We know what the solutions are. We also know why there is resistance and where the resistance is coming from. So if we rehearse all this again and again, we're not going to get much further. But now I'm standing in front of you after 10 years of this judgment, which I thought would be the stone in the still water and would make things happen. But I, like many others, was mistaken about that. So now I'm standing in front of you and wondering what else can be done by an audience like you, by the politicians, by the people themselves, by the police, by the judiciary, by the bureaucracy. What else can be done to make and push for better policing? Sure, there are people, it is not completely gloomy. We know there is huge power plays and therefore there is resistance, but we also know that there are people within the police, people like myself, like Mr. Prakash Singh, like Mr. Ramachandran, who have come together again and again to see what we can do to improve the policing. So where do we begin the next 10 years dialogue? Where do we begin the next 10 years struggle? Each time I speak, I come back to the first principle, which I think was touched upon by Mr. Lahoti, Justice Lahoti, I beg your pardon, which is the vision of policing. What is the vision of policing? We have to debate this in public. We cannot leave it to the police and the politician to decide what kind of policing the people of India should have. So when we come back to that vision of policing, have we got it right? Do we even have a vision of policing? Who has set this vision of policing? You heard Mr. Lahoti saying that some Brit asked him, why haven't you changed? That's a very good question for us. We know why we haven't changed. But we have to start thinking about the kind of policing that we really want in a democracy. Do we really believe that the police has to be only a coercive instrumentality of the state? Is that helping the economy? Let's be instrumental about it. Let's not be human rights-y. Let's not be all idealistic. Is the police as an instrumentality of development helping the economy? Is it helping to embed democracy? Is it even providing safety and security for us all? Or are we not concerned about this? Is it always the other who's going to be murdered in his bed? Is there a vision of a reformed police that we would like to see? Has the conversation even started? Let me begin the conversation and the struggle for better policing with my vision of what the police might be. To me, it is very clear that I do not want a vision of a police that is hierarchical, militaristic, a force which is isolated and away from the people and is seen to be the creature and captive of the powerful. That is suitable for colonials, that is suitable for an authoritarian state. Is that what we are looking for? But it is not suitable for a self-respecting free people. Are we a self-respecting free people? That is where the conversation must begin. To me, the duties of the police lie in being of service to all people, fair, unbiased, efficient, well-resourced, law-upholding. And I say this very carefully, not merely law-enforcing, but law-abiding and law-upholding, which means that every act they do must reinforce the rule of law. Certainly, their central work is the detection of crime, and also the prevention of crime. It is not the judging of the criminal. That is the law courts. They may not judge the criminal. That is for the law courts, and they must remember the limits of what they are doing and what they are supposed to do. They must be no more than a citizen in uniform, with the duty to create an atmosphere of peace, safety, and security for all, in which each of us, including the police, can be assured of realizing their human rights. This is the atmosphere of a democracy and for progress that we are looking for. So my questions to you, ladies and gentlemen, is like this. What are the pathways that we have available to us to seek reform? Where shall we look for our allies? Where do I find them and how do I catalyze them? Can the public, which is often outraged or what is the word I'm looking for? Submissive to the police, can the public demand be a counterweight to the power elite in this country? What do we need to do to break to create tensions within this cozy relationship of powerful people? How do I break the status quo? These are the questions I want answered, not to go back again and again to say, well, we know there are solutions, well, we know there is resistance, we know all that. Is there, again I ask, we are at 10 years. Is there a future right time for policing? Is it a long-term game? Is not today the time for policing, better policing? Will we ask this question and get the answers only 50 years from now? And what will happen in the intervening time? Will we also destroy the idea of justice and therefore the idea of India? Can we really wait for so long? I myself don't know the answers to all this, but I am not standing here frustrated. I am standing here saying, I am going to do this work for the next 20 years. Mr. Prakash Singh is going to do it for the next 20 years. Mr. Ramachandran is going to do it for the next 20 years. The question is, are you? So, I do not know all the answers. All I know is that a democratic, free nation requires democratic policing. Ladies and gentlemen, police reforms are too important to neglect, too urgent to delay. The question before you is, can you make it happen? Not me. Thank you.